Hey, welcome to everybody here at our WebEx meeting. So tonight's public meeting is to hear comments, to receive questions or concerns on two applications, 18 Park Street. Staff member is Robert Zilk, and presenter, I see Stacy Driscoll. And the second application is a portion of 1B Palmer's Lane. Laurel Palmer Thompson will be the presenter on behalf of staff, and Aaron Stafford and Parker Perry will be presenter owner. So with the evolving COVID-19 health situation, the city of Charlottetown continues to adjust our operations and practices in the wake of the constantly changing COVID-19 environment. And at this time, the public meeting is being held in WebEx. Hopefully we'll be soon getting into a real person meetings down at the Charlottetown Hotel or other locations. The meeting is also live streamed in YouTube, and a recording of this meeting can be accessed after the meeting by just going to YouTube and type in City of Charlottetown. And the video link is www.charlottetown.ca/video. So members of council that are here tonight, myself, I see Deputy Mayor Jason Cody, the Chair of the Planning Development and Heritage Standing Committee, Councillor Terry McLeod. Is Councillor Mckay here? Councillor Councillor Julie McCabe is here. Sorry, Julie McCabe. Councillor Yankov, Councillor Bernard. Okay. Councillor Durant, I see he's here. Councillor Kevin Ramsey is here. Councillor Tweel is here. Oh, his seat's there vacant, but he may show up. And Councillor Mike Duffy. There is Councillor Mike Duffy. And our board members, Basil Hamlet is, I believe, not here.
Your Worship, Councillor Rivard here is too.
Oh, excuse me, Councillor Rivard. I just missed your name. I went to Councillor Tweel and his empty seat. Bob Kenny's here. Chris Fournier, is he here? And our new member on the board, Paul Conley from Ward 1. Welcome, Paul Conley. Rosemary Hebert, Shaylin Murray's here, and I see Councillor Bernard just came on board. That's it. Okay. And we have resident members of the public for 18 Park Street, and for the portion of 1 Palmer Street, we have Doris Pool, Leslie Mckay, Lynn Murray, Sheila O'Shea, and Joanne Osborne. So I'm going to turn it over to Councillor McLeod.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Welcome everyone on a lovely spring looking day there. So hopefully it won't last too long. So I'm going to just give the order of the event of our presentations. So there will be a brief presentation by staff, followed by a presentation from the applicant. The applicant is given 10 to 15 minutes to present the application. The general public will be given an opportunity to speak. Each participant will be provided 5 minutes in which to provide their comments or to ask any questions they may have. The chair, which will be the mayor, will be calling your name when it is your turn to speak, and our technical staff will ask you to mute or unmute your device at that time. Council members will be allowed to ask questions of clarity, remembering not to give their opinion on the projects, as they are to remain neutral until the process is complete. While a member of the public is speaking, others are asked to show respect and decorum to all participants, refrain from unmuting their devices unless you are asked to speak. When asked to speak, please make sure you speak clearly to all participants so that they can hear your comments. Written submissions must be received on or before 12 p.m. March 30th, 2022. That's Wednesday, March 30th. With that, I would like to offer my thanks for the many residents who are joining here this evening, and to those who will be providing feedback and asking questions after the presentation. I'll now ask Mayor Brown, the chair of the meeting, to call it to order. Thank you very much.
You're on mute, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor McLeod, for your comments and laying out the ground rules. all of you should have a copy of the agenda and the package. First business, number one issue is to call to order, so I call to order. Number two, any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none. On the agenda, we have two items, A, 18 Park Street, B, portion of 1 Palmer's Lane. So approval of the agenda, I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Councilor Ramsey, seconded by Councilor McLeod, and all those in favor, you can use your hand option in your WebEx. Good. Okay. Councilor Julie, thank you. Councilor Durant, thank you. Councilor Rivard, yay or nay? Councilor Yankov?
Yay.
Okay, ready to go. So the two items, for A, 18 Park Street, PID number 365502, and B, portion of 1 Palmer's Lane, PID number 275735. And I believe that the first person to speak is the planner, and that is Robert Zilk. Turn it over to you, Robert.
Good evening, folks. Can everyone hear me and see the screen?
Can't see the screen yet.
Oh, okay. Let's see. How about now?
Nope. We see
Nope.
all the participants, but not your screen.
Okay.
And just to tell our watchers, observers, participants, Ellen Katani is our staff person from the Department of Planning, Development, and Heritage, and Spencer is doing the technology. Thank you. You all right there, Robert? Good. It's coming up now, Robert.
Great. Can you see the presentation?
Just white screen right now. Good.
Okay. So tonight, the first application is 18 Park Street. It's a request for a site-specific exemption. That's to convert the existing legal non-conforming commercial building, which was previously Signcraft, into a 4-unit residential apartment building. Property is zoned R2, but what the site-specific exemption does is it creates particular conditions. So in this case, the use of the apartment with sometimes deviations, which we'll see in regards to the lot frontage, side yard requirements, and so forth. But to start it off, this is the subject property today. It's the previously Signcraft building. It was a commercial legal non-conforming use, and the applicant is proposing to convert that into a 4-unit apartment. The subject property adjacent, which is 14 Park Street, also was owned by Signcraft Properties, and the applicant applied last year for a variance to the lot frontage in order to allow for a duplex. And that laneway that you see between the subject building and the property next door, which is the white sided building there, the vinyl siding building, is going to act as primary parking spaces for both the duplex and for the 4-unit apartment building. So this is the survey site plan. The subject property itself, you can see here, is pretty much very close to the property lines. In regards to the minimum required setbacks and frontage, I'll get into that later, but as you can see, 2 parking spaces for the 4 units would be to the rear of the building, the existing building, and then the other 2 parking spaces would be located on the other subject lots. And that would be 14 Park Street, and that would have to be done by way of an easement to allow for the cross-access agreement for the parking for 18 Park Street. These are the proposed floor plans that the applicant submitted to us. So as you can see, 4 units, 2 on ground level and then 2 on the second floor. And there is some slight modifications to the exterior building with some windows and some balconies, as well as the main entrance and cornices. Some history with the property, as I already stated, 14 Park Street did go through a variance for lot area and frontage in order to allow for a duplex to be developed there. It was approved with some renovations and was used as residential use. So in this case, we would be looking at having a fourplex, or the applicant's applying for a fourplex next to this property. In regards to the deficiencies that kind of triggers the site-specific exemption, is the lot frontage. It's deficient by around 48%, about half the lot frontage required. And then your interior side yard setbacks, it has some deficiencies by 7% on one side, and then up to 37% on the other side. And that's just the existing building as it is today. The applicant's not proposing, at least through the application, to enlarge the building. It's maintaining the same building footprint. So not too much change in regards to the massing or size of the structure itself, just more of a change of use from a legal non-conforming commercial use to residential apartments. The parking deficiencies for on-site parking is also something that will trigger the site-specific exemption, and why the applicant's applying through that process. It's to allow, again, for 2 extra spaces onto 14 Park Street, and then those will provide those 2 additional spaces required for the 4-unit apartment building. And since the building would not increase in size or remain the same, again, the impact is minimal to existing residents. However, this is why we're hosting public consultation, is to receive public input. To date, I've received a few phone calls from surrounding residents in regards to the application itself. Some were requiring more information as to what the nature of the use was, and some were inquiring as to what is the situation if additional unit was added. Again, I would just remind that the purpose of the site-specific exemption is that the applicant would apply through a proposal, which is before you tonight, and then if council decides to approve that proposal, it would be a development agreement would be created, outlining basically the extent of the operations, and be registered on title. So if there was any changes to the actual development, the proposal itself, that would trigger then the site-specific exemption again. So that's kind of the questions that staff has heard, some of the feedback that staff has heard from property owners. There was one concern in regards to drainage. However, as per the bylaw requirements, if the applicant is not substantially changing the grades or doing any enlargement, then a grading plan wouldn't necessarily be required. However, part of contract development is that we could ask and request that a drainage plan be submitted at the time of the building permit application. So those are just some of the feedback that staff encountered during the public consultation phase. And that kind of sums up the presentation. The applicant is here tonight, and he has a presentation prepared to present to you and the public, and I can take any questions as well. Thank you very much.
Robert, thank you very much. I just want to note that our Deputy Chief Administrative Officer, Tina Lococo, is also part of this meeting, and I noticed that Basil Hamley has logged in along with Councilor Tweel and I think Chris Fournier. So we have a full slate here tonight. That's great. So are there any questions before we move on to the owner? Okay, could we move on to the owner? Stacy, can you give us some of your information, or
sure? Can you hear
your
me
presentation?
There, Bob?
Loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. You'll just have to bear with me. I'm going to go to the PowerPoint here, and hopefully Ellen taught me well here. Bear with me for 1 second.
So, okay, good.
Yeah. Yeah, just bear with me for 1 moment. Okay, so everybody can hear me there, Your Worship?
Yes, and it looks good. Yeah, you're on 18 Park Street, rezoning request. You can go ahead,
Perfect.
Stacy.
So this evening I'll just go through a small presentation. I won't take up 10 or 15 minutes of your time. Just to highlight some of the things that actually Robert just has gone through. First of all, good evening, Your Worship, councillors, board members, Park Street and surrounding area residents. My name is Stacey Driscoll, and I'm one of the directors of Park Street Properties, and I'll be putting forth our proposal, our rezoning proposal for 18 Park Street this evening. And again, I'm just going to hit this slide to the next one. As most people know, 18 Park Street has been home to Signcraft for over 40 years. In June of 2020, Dalmac purchased Signcraft, and at that point we, pretty much immediately recognized the need to move into a bigger building with the growth and the business that Signcraft was doing, and felt that a larger building in a more industrial setting was needed. Earlier this year, the folks at Signcraft moved into their new property, which is located on Corbett Drive, just off the bypass in Charlottetown. And that's the picture you can see there to the right. Bear with me for a second here. So over the years on Park Street, Signcraft has been a great neighbor, but they also recognize the need for more space for their manufacturing, storage, client access, and delivery of large manufactured signs. Over the past year, I've had the pleasure of chatting with some of the folks on Park Street. We didn't get to everybody on the street with COVID restrictions in and out, but I did do my best to try to get up and down the street to speak to as many residents as I could, just to kind of get a feel from the neighbors what they thought of our idea of converting the existing property, largely a manufacturing business with a fair amount of client travel in and out during the day, into residential units. And the response we got was very positive. There was not a need, or was not an appetite for a big 8 or 12 or 16 unit building, but they're very favorable for our presentation when I was at the doors to talk about a 4-unit building and the big thing was in the existing footprint. And here again, there's going to be some repetition with Robert's slides, but I just wanted to point out the site plan is basically what Robert had mentioned, but the biggest thing is there's no expansion to the footprint of the current building. We're basically taking the existing footprint and retrofitting it into 4 one-bedroom units is our proposal, which we can see on the next slide here. Okay, and again, a repetition here, I apologize for that, but the floor plan are basically mirror images of each other, 2 units on the top, 2 units on the bottom. So in conclusion, and again, as Robert had mentioned, we are property owners currently on Park Street. We do own the duplex to the left of this our proposed building here on 18 Park Street. And with your support and the support of the neighbors on Park Street, we hope that we can convert this again legal non-conforming use into a residential building that both the city and our neighbors on Park Street will be proud of. So that's all I have for you at this point, but certainly answer any questions you have.
Stacy,
Yes.
thank you very much. Any questions from any board members, council, before I open it up? Okay, just before we open the floor to comments or questions, before we open our WebEx to any potential person or any person wishes to speak, he or she will be given 5 minutes to speak. And because this is a public meeting, we ask that before speaking, you give your name, address, your street, your ward, your representative and council, or just your municipality, whichever you feel most comfortable with. And because this is a WebEx meeting, when I call your name to speak, just please remember, we all forget, technical staff will request that you unmute your mic before providing any comments. And if your name is called and you do not have any comments or questions, please unmute your mic and still say you have no questions at this time, and then we'll move on to the next speaker. So, Ellen, do we have any speakers in the queue?
None for 18 Park Street.
Oh, okay. Councillor Tweel, did you want to ask Stacy or Robert Zilka a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to take this opportunity to congratulate Stacy. The building that he referred to at the corner of Park and Kingston Road was at one time a well-known drug house. And I know that with the purchasing of that property and with the support of the neighbors, their neighbors are very pleased with revitalizing that particular building and that property. And I know that it's an excellent track record. See the names of people that have signed letters of support. And I have all the faith in the world in Stacy and his business partners that he will duplicate what he did at the corner of Kensington Road and Park Street. And I look forward to the development and the fruition of that development. Congratulations, Stacy.
Thank you.
So Tweel, thank you for your comments. Okay, Stacy and Robert, I think we can move on to item 2. Thank you, Stacy, for making your presentation. Robert Zilk, thank you. So our next application is portion of 1B Palmer's Lane, PID number 275735. And Laurel Palmer Thompson will be presenting from our staff's perspective, along with the owner, presenter, Aaron Stafford, and Parker Perry. So, can I turn it over to you, Laurel, first?
Your Worship, Alex, Laurel's a little under the weather, and she's sort of preserving her voice. So I'm going to open this up. Laurel will be available for any questions on this project, as well as as you mentioned, the applicant's architect is here to further elaborate, but I will clearly indicate what, the general parameters of the project. So it's a project on the corner of Mount Edward Road.
Sub.
Pardon?
You're the sub.
I am the sub,
That's
yeah.
great. Okay.
And you'll have hopefully the real thing back next month. But anyway, this is a project on the corner of Mount Edward Road and Palmer's Lane. And the request, it's 1 Palmer's Lane. The request is to amend the official plan from low-density residential to medium-density residential for a smaller portion of the property. Also to amend the zoning bylaw to go from R1S zone to medium-density R3 zone. And for a portion of the property, it's approximately 457 square meters. That is the portion that we are discussing. You can see it on the map there this evening, and surrounded in blue. That's the subject area that is under discussion. It'll also involve a lot consolidation to append this portion of the property at 1B Palmer's Lane with 1 Palmer's Lane 1 Palmer's Lane is currently occupied by a 6-unit apartment building, which is intended to be demolished. The current lot area of 1 Palmer's Lane is large enough to support 9 units under the density requirements of the zoning bylaw. If the rezoning and lot consolidation is approved, 3 additional apartments would be permitted on the site. These additional units will not result in an increase in the overall building footprint. The overall request is to allow for the construction of a 4-story, 12-unit apartment building on the property, each floor consisting of 3 units. And with that, Your Worship, I'll hand it over to Aaron Stafford, who is the architect on this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. As always, great presentation. Mr. Stafford, and is Parker also presented with you?
Parker has joined the meeting, but he's having some microphone problems, so I will try to answer as best I can.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Council, Planning Board members, and city residents. My name is Aaron Stafford, and I am the Principal Architect at Open Practice, Inc. And we are the architect of record for Parker Perry Developments for this property at 1 Palmer's Lane. So I am going to attempt to share my screen here and see if we can make this work. So bear with me here for a minute.
You need any help from our end, Aaron?
I think Aaron got disconnected. He might be reconnecting. There you go.
Lost him in cyberspace.
Sorry about that, folks. I'm now, I think we are now good.
Okay, perfect. It's coming up. Thank you.
Okay. So as Alex introduced, so the property that we are here to discuss tonight is at 1 Palmer's Lane. This is just a photo of the current site. So on site there is an existing 6-unit building, and these are just some photos of the current condition of that. The building is currently vacant and is kind of hopefully ready for some investment and some new development. So to run through, it's an interesting little property in that essentially what we are looking for tonight, I guess, is a rezoning of a portion of an R1 parcel to an R3, and also doing a bit of a land swap, so to speak. So in the image that you're looking at right now, the yellow shaded areas are actually currently all the same PID. So 1 Palmer's Lane plus this little portion of land back here. And the existing R1 lot is shown here in blue. I've just kind of quickly called out the existing areas of each lot for reference. So the existing R1 lot is about 1,267 square meters. The existing area of the R3 lot is 1,237 plus this 299 square meters over here. It's pretty hard to argue and to justify that this parcel of land back here should count to the area of this land. So part of what we're looking to do tonight is to reconsolidate, reconfigure, and get also direct access for this current R1 lot. So if I flip back here, this current R1 lot has a right-of-way access across this property in order to give it a driveway because it's landlocked in behind. So what we're hoping to do here tonight is, I would say, clean up this kind of land and consolidate the two lots, or sorry, to consolidate and clean up the lots and take this portion of the R1 lot So it's about 457 square meters, as Alex described, and add it to the existing 1 Palmer's Lane. So the intent is we will not build on this portion of the land. The building that we are building fits and kind of is not getting any bigger, whether it's a 9 unit, as Alex said, as of right, or whether it becomes a 12 unit. It really is a matter of the height of the building. So this is the proposed site plan. So I've tried to illustrate this as clearly as possible. This existing gray shaded area is the existing footprint of the building that's on site. The kind of heavy black line is the outline of our new building. So it's not extending any further to the rear yard. It extends about 8 feet to the east. It extends about 11 feet to the west and about 10 feet to the south. So there are no other variances that we are seeking here. The footprint of the building, the height of the building, the setbacks of the building all meet the current zoning bylaw requirements. Essentially, what we've asked for is a little bit more land area to kind of technically meet the number of units per lot area. So if this were a as of right 9 unit building, we would need 10 parking spaces. So to go to 12 units, we currently need 13 parking spaces on the property. We are currently showing 14. So 1 barrier free, 1 unit, 1 parking space for each unit plus 1 guest. We've tried to clarify as best we could where we anticipate, a screened garbage area and snow piling. There's an existing swale that runs down the east edge of the property that drains back out onto Palmer's Lane. So we don't foresee snow clearing and garbage to be of major concerns, hopefully, to the neighboring properties. We're also showing that there is a pretty well-established tree line along the east side, and we would be looking to introduce some screening, natural vegetation along the north line of the property. So I can just run through, this is a typical floor plan. So as Alex described, there are 3 units on each floor. So if it's 3 stories high, there will be 9 units. If we are successful in getting the the rezoning, we would have 4. This is the elevation as drawn. So you can see that it's the lower floor is half in, half out of the ground. So essentially we are about 36 feet to the ridge of the building. If we are unsuccessful in our application, this would drop about 4 feet to bring the main floor level down to grade. So that would be really the major change if we were not successful here tonight. As far as materials, we are proposing an asphalt shingle roof. The siding is a combination of cement board panels and vinyl siding with a veneered stone base on the building at the ground level. This is a concept rendering to show what the building would look like, and this is kind of looking from the southeast corner of the property back toward Mount Edward Road. So at that, I think those are the key points that I'd like to address, but I'm certainly happy to answer any questions.
Aaron, just before we open it up, the 8 unit that's on the corner of Palmer's Lane, Mount Edward Road, if I look off Palmer's Lane and look to I'd say it's the east, there's a blue home. I think it's a duplex. It's rented out. Will that come down also, or is that another property?
Sorry, can you clarify are you talking about this blue home in behind?
Yes. I'm just trying, is that Lynn Murray's, or is that another home in back there?
No, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Lynn Murray's is here, which is on to Mount Edward Road, and this is another home here. So that's part of the lot land swap changing that we're trying to. The only way to access this house right now is through a right-of-way that crosses our property on 1B.
Yeah.
And so what we are proposing is that house will remain, and it will then have driveway access onto Mckay Drive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted clarification. Okay.
Yeah. Certainly.
Okay, so we do have, Ellen, you do have the queue set up. Did you, and again, just to remind the speakers, about questions, each speaker will have 5 minutes to speak. This is a public meeting. We ask that before speaking, just give your name, address, street, your ward, your representative councilor. Just tell us where you live. You live in Charlottetown, and that's all you have to tell us. And because this is a WebEx meeting, when we call your name, our technical staff will request that you unmute. And if your name is called and you do not have any comments, just tell us you have no questions at this time, and we will move on to the next speaker. So, Ellen, do you want to go to the first? I think you have Doris Pool on first.
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Okay. Doris, are you there?
Yes, I am.
So, Doris, just your name, if you want to give your address, or just that you live in Charlottetown, or...
Sure. No, my name's Doris Pool.
Yeah.
I live at 3 Palmer's Lane, and that's it. Yes. I'm going to just fire off some questions here. I have a number, so I'm trying to just throw some out, and then you can respond after, so I don't lose my 5 minutes. I'm trying to figure out which is the more important question, but I'm just curious, when the design was considered for this building, was there ever a green roof considered? And I was just hoping that maybe we could have a forward-thinking new developer here to set a new standard for some of the new apartment building construction that's rapidly happened everywhere. I also see on the map where there's parking spots for disabled or accessible. I'm wondering, is the building itself accessible? I didn't see a ramp into the building. I'm also wondering about if, as well, the history of the area was considered in the building of this, as the property and across the street is where a former father of Confederation once resided, and a block away from this home we have a circa house as well that was built in the 1800s. Jumping forward to the apartment units, in the current proposed 9-unit building, 3 apartments for each floor, what size are those apartments? Are those 2-bedroom apartments or 3-bedroom apartments? And based on that, what are the maximum number of people per unit? Is it 1 person per bedroom, or what is it? And based on that, what is the maximum number of people that can reside in a 9-unit building? I'm not so certain that there's enough parking spaces there to allot for that. If I consider a 2-bedroom apartment, most people would be probably 2 adults living in a 2-bedroom apartment. Each one would have a car. So if I did the math quickly there could easily be 18 cars required for this building. And I don't know where guest parking is going to happen. Is that going to be out in the street? Is it going to be across the road at our Gowan, the federal parking lot that says no overnight parking? I don't know. That's one of my big concerns for parking. And I'm also, the garbage area, is that going to be contained, or is it going to be like a free-for-all like it is now with 18 bins just blowing in the wind? I guess that's my 5 big questions. It is a residential neighborhood. There's an elementary school a block away from this proposed building. Daycares, lots of small children right on Palmer's Lane here every day. My dog watches them going back and forth to school. So I do have a big concern for the amount of traffic, and Palmer's Lane is noted for a lot of traffic issues already. People going through stop signs on both ends of Palmer's Lane at Mount Edward and down by the school area. So if you could address some of those questions, and I'll save my other questions for my email that I'll be sending through to the office tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Doris, thank you very much for those questions. Aaron, do you want to take them on? Doris, if we do miss one, just to remind him at the end that he didn't answer question 3 or question 4. Do you want to take those on, Aaron?
Yeah, I'll certainly do my best. So I think question 1 was the green roof. Did we consider a green roof? I'll be honest, we did not. Mostly due to cost of kind of doing a green roof. I've done a couple of green roofs. I know the cost that they add to buildings, especially when they are 4 stories in the air. Now that being said, the current owner is also has a landscaping company. So I think, as I hopefully tried to illustrate, I'll bring it up again. is that we would be looking to screen with kind of natural vegetation along this north portion, and if we need to kind of add a little kind of buffer, lower vegetation, because these trees along the eastern edge are quite mature, we could certainly explore that. So the short answer on the green roof was it was not discussed, but twofold, I guess, is trying to keep units affordable-ish, and also we can try to deal with it in landscaping. Second question, barrier-free parking and barrier-free. So there is one barrier-free unit as per the requirements of the city zoning bylaws. So there is an at-grade ramp here and access to a barrier-free unit. So there is one barrier-free unit along with the barrier-free parking. Question, all the units are 2-bedroom units. They range between 1,000 and 1,100 square feet. As per the number of people living there, that's hard to say. I would expect two might be average, maybe 3 might be average. I don't, there are no 3 bedrooms, so technically there are proposed 12 units, 11 of them are 2 bedrooms, and there's one bedroom at the lowest floor. I apologize, I misspoke there. As far as the number of parking spaces, we meet the current zoning bylaws, so there's 1 parking space per unit required. And we also, one of the pluses to this location is that there is a T3 transit service and stop along Mount Edward Road, which should also, I think, help facilitate, for tenants. Not everybody has cars, but you're right, some people might have 2 cars. As far as units and parking spaces, it would be 1 parking space per unit provided. The garbage cans will be a screened area, fenced around. Did I miss any questions?
No. I am still curious where the excess parking would go, because like I said, if it's a 2-bedroom apartment, most people have a car each, say it's a husband-wife or a husband-wife and a child, or 2 students, 2 nursing students potentially. They'd each have a car, so I'm not sure where the extra car would be parking if that applied to every apartment, because that could easily be, if it's a 9-unit building, that could be 18 cars, correct? And where would the extra parking go? Where is the guest parking going?
Well, I think I'm not exactly sure how to answer that question, only in that these are the current zoning bylaws that the city of Charlottetown has, and we have provided as much as we can on the site. We could add 2 more parking spaces easily to the north and reduce the planting buffer. So that's something that we could entertain and certainly add those 2 additional parking spaces.
Is that all right,
Okay.
Doris?
No, but I'll go with it, but no.
Oh,
Okay.
no, Doris, I just meant, do you want to ask your other questions? That's what I'm asking.
No, that's okay. No, that's okay. I'll let someone else go, and then if there's time at the end, I'll come back.
Okay, so you're going to stay online. Good.
Yes.
Can I just ask any of the participants that are part of this WebEx meeting, there are some mics that are on, and there's causing some feedback. So just check your mic if it's muted. Okay, Ellen, is Leslie Mckay next?
Yes.
Okay, Leslie, can you give us your name? If you want to give your address or just the municipality, that's fine.
Yes, can you hear me?
Fine, yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, my name is Leslie Mckay. I own the property on 64 Mount Edward Road,
Okay.
which the property we own is on 64 Mount Edward Road, but we are adjacent to the subject property. Our property goes from Mount Edward Road to Mckay Drive. So basically it's a half acre parcel. Now, I was certainly concerned about a 4-story apartment building in that particular area. The footprint is extremely small, and to have 12 units there is certainly going to overshadow a lot of buildings One of my main concerns is, I just heard tonight that there's going to be a driveway for 1B Palmer's Lane going across our property to Mckay Drive. Now, between our property and 10 Mckay Drive, the city owns the walkway. So is the city getting rid of that walkway to put in the driveway for 1B Palmer's Lane? That'd be my first question.
Aaron, do you want to answer that?
I don't know that I can, to be quite honest with you. My understanding is that this parcel of land abuts directly onto the city right-of-way at Mckay Drive. So I am certainly unaware that there is, I apologize, Leslie. I have an image up here. Is this your parcel here, 275339?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't know the parcel number offhand, but it's adjacent to Lynn Murray.
So you'd be north of Lynn Murray's property.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
the property. Yeah.
Also the Brown property.
Yeah.
Is it Joseph Brown?
Yeah.
That's 1B Palmer's Lane.
Yeah. So again, I will double check.
Our property goes right up to the city's right away.
Yeah. It's right there. We can see it. That's 273.
Yeah.
275339. Yeah.
Yeah. Correct.
Like I said, the question is the city giving up that right away to make a driveway for 1B Palmer's Lane?
Okay. So what I'm going to do, Leslie, Alex, Mr. Forbes, is Laurel there? Did she take that into consideration?
Your Worship, I'm here.
I want to keep you on too long because I know you're not feeling well. Do you want to address that question from Leslie Mckay?
Yeah, I believe the parcel he's talking about, I'm just sorry, trying to share my screen, but I believe the parcel he's talking about that he perceives the city owning is parcel A, but that isn't owned by the city, that's owned by the property owner of 1 Palmer's Lane, Parker Perry. To my knowledge, as long as I've dealt with this application, the city did not own that property. It's been part of 1 Palmer's Lane. It's been in the ownership of that property for quite some time.
Yeah. I think if I can add to that, and I apologize, it's there is a drain easement. I think the city has an easement over that property, but it's not owned by the city. Yeah.
That's right. That's Mr. Mckay. That's an easement for. It says a drainage easement, so there's possibly a concrete pipe under there that would flow into one of our catch basins on Palmer's Lane.
Yes, actually, there's two drains there. There's one right at the corner of Mckay Drive and Elizabeth Street.
Yes.
Then there's another one right at the corner of our property, which would be, would be on the east-south corner of the property.
Yeah.
So basically, to put in a driveway, you'd have to go over those two drain areas.
You mean over the catch basin covers?
Yes.
The drains themselves? Alex, in past developments, how is that addressed? Where the easement for the city is part of a new development. Do you have any background knowledge, or maybe Laurel Palmer Thompson?
I'll take a stab at it, Your Worship. We can review it certainly with Public Works before we report back to you folks. But an easement is usually, it's an underground easement to allow provision for the pipe to be accessed, and by virtue of the fact that it'll be a driveway, it'll still be able to be accessed in the event of if there's a failure or a problem with that pipe. You can't build over an easement, you can't build over the top of it, but certainly a parking lot or a driveway is not inappropriate. But we will confirm and get clarification for council as it's loops back to planning board from Public Works in regard to their opinion on that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Leslie, good question. I didn't see that easement until you pointed it out. So he will follow up.
I still question the ownership of that
parcel.
That parcel of land going to Mckay Drive and Elizabeth Street. That was never. When I look at the surveys of that property, that doesn't cover the survey. But anyway, I'm not going to argue the point now. We just don't have the time. But I'm certainly opposed to the rezoning of this particular property. And I just think a 4-story building in that particular neighborhood on that particular footprint is way out of line. Thank you.
I certainly, if I could just speak to that, only in that we are not seeking a variance for anything in terms of height or building area. So I just, we could, as of right, build up to 49.2 feet. We are closer to 36 feet. So although it's 4 stories, the first story is partially, it's like a kind of half in, half out of the ground. So we're really a 3-story building plus an additional 4 feet. That may not kind of sway you in any way, and I understand that, but I just to kind of clarify that as best I can.
Leslie, is that okay?
Okay.
The response.
Okay. It would be nice if 1B Palmer's Lane, the house on 1B Palmer's Lane, was taken down and made into a green space. I mean, that would make, in my mind, that would make the property a lot more attractive. I mean, I don't know what it would cost the developer to buy that property, but to make that into a green space, still have the city have the right of way to for the east or for the drainage. That would be a terrific idea. But to have that house, 1B Palmer's Lane, still standing there, and those residents basically trying to use 2 driveways. But anyway, that's just my thought on the thing. That's anyway, we've owned that property that we own. My parents built that place in 1951, so it's been in the family for 75 years. So I am quite concerned about the development in that area. I certainly appreciate the time that you've allowed me to speak to it. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mckay, thank you. Aaron, 1B, is that not owned by Parker Perry?
Yes, it is.
So, Mr. Mckay.
Yes.
That property is owned by the owner of this development.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, you can consider taking the property down and make it a green space.
Aaron, do you want to take that back to the owner?
Sure, I will take that back to the owner.
Okay, Mr. Mckay, is that it? Do you want any other questions? Any comments?
No, it's been very informative. Thank you for speaking to it.
Thank you. Okay. Again, Ellen, I think Lynn Murray. Is Lynn online?
Yes, she should be next, yeah.
Okay, Lynn. Do you want to just introduce yourself, Lynn? And I believe you still own the property there on Mount Everett Road. And
yes.
Take it from there.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Just state your name for the public record, your municipality, where you're living, and then just questions or comments, please forward them either. I think Aaron's the only person responding to the questions, and I don't think Mr. Perry's on with us.
So my name is Lynn Murray, and I live at, or I shouldn't say that, I own 62 Mount Edward Road. I've lived there for most of my career in Charlottetown. I still own the place. I still stay there periodically, although I do have someone living in the house right now, a friend of mine, as I'm actually living out of town right now. However, I noted with interest the earlier proponent of a development who indicated that he had gone to all the neighbors in the area and tried to find out what they might think of the development he had proposed. And I commend him for doing that because, you know, I can't say about any of the other residents in the area, but I can certainly say that I found out about the 4-unit building by reading it in the newspaper. I hadn't even received a letter from City Hall at that time. So just as an FYI, if there's a major public, development going ahead, I think a little more notice than the 4 or 5 days that I got would be appreciated by residents and or owners. And when I did get the letter, it had 8.5 by 11 photos that were 2 on a page. So whether the city was saving paper or, but it was very difficult to read. And so I actually went online and printed it off myself. So I'll say at the outset that I'm not opposed to development, but I think it has to be development that is fitting with the area. And if you drive down Mount Edward Road, I question whether you're going to find a 4-story building that is right on the corner of 2 roads, right next to residential homes or across the street from residential homes that are single-story or 1.5 or 2 stories. I suggest you're not going to find one. One of the Harley Street apartments is set significantly back, and it looked to me like it's 3 stories. And Mount, which is set significantly back, it would be in excess of 4 stories. It's not on the corner. This is going to dwarf everything else that's in the area. And I know the planning department indicated it was to proceed with public consultation. And they pointed out that one of the shortcomings of this area is that the residents may not like it, and it kind of looked to me like it was referred to a public meeting to see whether or not there was a lot of opposition. I took the opportunity to review the official plan, and it indicates that it's to preserve existing residential low-density neighborhoods. It's to be consulted for guidance with respect to all forms of development, including zoning amendments. It shall allow moderately higher density in neighborhoods, provided that the density doesn't adversely affect existing low-density housing. It's to preserve the built form and density of Charlottetown's existing neighborhoods. It's to be harmonious with, the new development is to be harmonious with the surroundings. The footprint, height, massing, and setbacks of new residential, commercial, and institutional development are supposed to be physically related to its surroundings. The policy is to establish appropriate relationship between height and density of new development in mixed-use residential areas of existing neighborhoods. And again, it refers to being harmonious with its surroundings. How anyone could think that a 4-story building sitting on a small lot on a corner would not look out of place in a residential neighborhood is beyond me. Think about that. How does a 4-story building fit in with the official plan to maintain existing low-density neighborhoods? How is it that the height of this building suits the neighborhood? How is it that doubling the density of what was there previously suits the neighborhood? How can it be said that this new 4-story building will be harmonious, or in other words, fit in with its surroundings? The planners correctly pointed out in the briefing note to you that usually when you're going between higher density and lower density, you use a traditional use such as townhouses or semi-detached dwellings between high and lower density uses. And something like that would be appropriate here. But they then say if a step-down approach cannot be achieved, then appropriate land use buffers must be incorporated. I'm not sure how you're going to incorporate any land use buffers, and I don't see any on the plan that's before you that deals with my property. I don't know how you do it because there's so little land there. There's probably not any extra land available. There's a reference to St. Peter's Road in the briefing note to yourselves. I'm not sure why that is referenced because this is Mount Edward Road, but perhaps there's something in the bylaws that I'm not aware of. But when one considers all the official plan requirements, the one that stands out is new development must be physically related to its surroundings. There should be an appropriate relationship between height and density in existing neighborhoods. The footprint, height, massing, and setbacks in existing neighborhoods must be physically related to its surroundings, and it must be harmonious with its surroundings. It's simply, a 4-story building here is simply not physically related to its surroundings. And I would be opposed to any rezoning that would allow such a building on this property. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Lynn, thank you very much. Alex?
Yes, Your Worship.
Alex, this issue comes up periodically. I know it's within the 100 meter periphery of the development. Her property, I know her property, Lynn Murray's property, is right next door. Was it sent somewhere else, or Lynn? Are you 62 or 6? I know the Mckay is 64. You're 62.
I'm 62, and certainly, I mean, this survey would certainly I would be right where the arrow is on the screen.
Yeah. No, I know that. So, Alex, again, it comes up as I said, periodically, where residents that live close to the proposed development have not received notification. It's something I guess we have to review. I shouldn't say guess, it should be reviewed, but that's for another, probably one of our meetings at Planning, Development, and Heritage.
And Mayor Brown, I did eventually get a letter.
You did?
I called City Hall. It was in the paper before I got a letter. So I called City Hall on Monday because someone had sent it to me on Saturday, and City Hall indicated I had got a letter, but I hadn't got a letter. The mailbox was checked on Sunday, and I went out after work on Monday, and it was there on Monday. But to me, it's Monday with a Friday date for you to object. Not everybody checks their mailbox every day, and and what we're dealing with now in terms of mail is it's going to Halifax, as I understand, before it's coming back here. So, I mean, I'm not hard to find.
No. I just wanted to make sure, Lynn. This question does come up. Do you want to respond, Aaron, to some of the concerns she brought up with the official plan and the?
Well, I mean,
project itself. Thank you.
Sure. I think that the property as it currently stands is zoned as an R3 lot. So if we take the request to rezone a portion of Lot 1B, that if we were to take and look at that property, all of the requirements, I guess, the maximum building height is 49.2 feet as of right. If we keep the building within the dotted red line, which would just continue to extend down to this corner of the property, it is as of right. Unfortunately, I think that a lot of the key points that Mrs. Murray has made are really concerns with the existing zoning bylaws or the existing city plan to some degree. I think that the scale of the building, there's no doubt it's tight on the north side of the property. But these are the city requirements in terms of setbacks. there is quite a large land buffer and transition zone to the next property to the east. And obviously we face two streets on Mount Edward Road and Palmer's Lane. There's a large parking lot across the way in front of our Gowan, and there's a park across the street. There's not a lot of transitioning back to build form other than to the north. And look, I understand. So as of right, 49.2 feet, we are more like 36 feet, and that's to the ridge. To the eave line, we're at 27 feet. So we're 2.5 to 3 stories. We're certainly less than what we're allowed to do. And I think we've done within reason what we can do. We're trying to put units on there to make them reasonably priced and also to do a good building, I think. So I'm not in the business of shoving as many units as we can if I don't think it's appropriate for the site. So
just one thing, the setback requirements for the building, those are the bare minimum, right, according to the zoning plan?
Those are the minimum setbacks, correct?
Right. And so you're right at the edge of the minimum setbacks, correct?
On 3 sides, correct.
And does your survey consider the occupied property? Because I don't believe your north boundary, I think my property occupies into your, I guess it would be south boundary.
I'm not quite sure. So you're saying that the hedge line and stuff is on our prop?
Maybe. I just, like, no surveyor came and talked to me. I know it was surveyed, and I just saw, so I've just had it resurveyed. It was surveyed yesterday.
Okay.
So I don't have the survey yet, but the surveyors were on site yesterday.
Okay. Well, this was all surveyed within the last year. So these kind of setbacks, and this is the definition. This is, I guess, the legal definition of the property that we have.
And is there any reason why you didn't talk to the residents like the previous proponent did?
I guess I'm Parker is on the call, and he's kind of texting me because his mic is not working, but he did indicate that he did stop by. There was no one at the residence at the time, and you know, I guess like everyone is busy and trying to do their best. He didn't get a hold of you. He did have a chance to talk to Mrs. Pool, I believe, and had reached out to a couple of the other residents. So there was an attempt made. Maybe you could argue that it wasn't enough, but he did attempt to talk to neighbors.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Ellen, you sent a chat message that Parker can speak. Is he able to connect?
I think he's connected, but I think Aaron just mentioned that his mic is not working. Yep.
Okay. So next we have Sheila O'Shea. Sheila, is Joanne on the same line with you, the both of you?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Yeah, Joe and I are both here. Yeah,
okay, do you just want to introduce both of yourselves and where you live, and you have 5 minutes to ask questions, make comments?
Yeah, Sheila O'Shea, 57 Mount Edward Road. We live across the street from Palmer Lane on the corner.
And Joanne Osborne. I live at the same residence, 57 Mount Edward Road.
Okay, Sheila, Joanne.
Yeah, so thanks for having us, letting us have the opportunity to speak. So we're going to give just a quick little history on some things that we kind of oppose this development. We've been living at this residence for 17 years. And I know Doris has mentioned some very valid points. Lynn Murray has mentioned some very valid points. One of the big concerns that we have, and Aaron, you've tried to address it, is parking. We know that in the past, there have been people living in that building who have some physical disabilities, some low-income individuals, no vehicles in there. And so no cars, no traffic. Palmer Lane, in the last 3 to 4 years, in conjunction with Mount Edward Road, the traffic on this road is unbelievable. And we have woken to have a car just about come through Palmer's Lane into our house, smashed into our glassed-in front porch. People are driving way too fast. We have noticed in the last while that there's a lot of police presence on Palmer Lane, and which is a good thing. And I spoke to the officer, and he said we're starting to do some public education, and it just kind of twigged a little bit. I thought, you know, is the public education because we're going to be building a building here, and we're going to be housing a lot of people in this building, and we're going to be housing a lot of parking spots. We do know in the summer we sit in our front porch, and I can tell you if we watch 10 cars come down Palmer Lane, 8 of them will get to the stop sign, and all they do is take a quick look to their left through our Gowing parking lot, and they'll all roll that stop sign heading up Mount Edward Road. So you throw an apartment building in there, and now you're going to have at least a dozen cars, maybe more in there, and it's going to be dangerous. We both listen to Lynn and agree that, you know, the site of that building, the physical surroundings don't match what's happening in this area. Doris is correct when she talks about the daycare. Our house borders right on the experimental farm. So we see the daycare come down here in the summer with little kids walking on the sidewalk. They come over to the farm, they play. That's a concern of ours. And I think Joe's going to add maybe a few things too, but, you know, just getting back to Lynn's comment about the notice, the people that lived in that building, that was their home. And I know that, Aaron, you mentioned that the property right now is vacant. Well, they were evicted. And I know one of the ladies walks her dog here on the farm, and she told me that she and all the residents were going to be evicted on March 2nd. And getting back to Lynn's comment, we had a notice on the mail on the 16th of March about this meeting, and if we didn't run into her, we may have missed this, because yes, you know, check your mailbox all the time. We never had anybody come and knock on our door and say, hey, this is what's going on. Joe works from home. Just throwing out a few things that, you know, that we have a concern with, and you know, I can't help but go back to the days of Harley Street, you know, where a number of years ago, you know, some of the people were moved out of that area. And now we have some people that were moved from that area, and all of a sudden we want to put up a 3- and 4-story building where we're going to house 12 apartments, 24 people, and all kinds of cars. And yes, the physical surrounding, it doesn't really match what's happening on the road, and it's a busy corner. And so if you've got people rolling down Palmer Lane now who know they only have to check to their left and they take off and go up the road on their right, it's a dangerous corner. And now you're going to put up a 3 or 4 story apartment building and really congest that area. Yeah, we're just kind of opposed.
Sheila, do you want Joe? You have a few.
Well, I mean,
2 5 minutes together.
Everything is said. I mean, those are the things we talked about. Nothing really stands out more to me, except the fact that, given the building that's there right now, is, to me, when I look at it, it looks like a 2-story building. and I just try to envision this big apartment building of 3 and 4 stories, and it's just, it's quite, it just feels like it's going to tower over everything. I mean, the homes around here are all just residential homes. It's not apartment complexes, and it just, and for the reasons too, I mean, the traffic, that's very concerning. In the last while, like Sheila was saying, I mean, it's constant. We see the police on Palmer's Lane all the time. People are driving so fast up and down that road and not paying attention to the stop signs. And so it's, what's going to happen if we add even more traffic to that mix, safety-wise and in other ways. And an overflow for parking. Are people then going to end up having to maybe park on the side of the road, or I don't know. It's
Yeah, it's a concern.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you, Joe. Aaron, or do you wish to provide some comments, response to?
Sure. I can try to address some of those things. I don't live in the area. I live close to the area. I don't live in that neighborhood, but I think I even knew of that building has been in a rough state. It's had a history of some drug dealing going on. I think that the intent here is to kind of reinvest in the property. The landlord did actually work with all of the tenants to find them suitable housing. So I think Linda is the person you're referring to at the dog. She has been relocated into safe, affordable housing. So this wasn't a give everybody their minimum notice and get them out onto the street. They worked with the tenants. They tried to find them housing in order to deal with it. As far as cars, again, when landlords rent buildings, they tell people they've got one parking space. That's part of the screening process of who they rent the buildings to. I can answer that as best I can. So I think that, the traffic issues are they from tenants living on the street, or are they cutting across from St. Peter's Road? Those are larger city issues. I'm not saying that it's not relevant, but I don't know that the blue house that was currently in behind on lot 1B, I believe, was rented to 4 or 5 university students. They had 4 or 5 cars in there. Yes, there's going to be a few more cars. We're not talking 20, 50, 60 more cars. We are talking a few more cars. So, look, these are all valid concerns. I'm trying to address them as best I can. I don't mean to kind of belittle them at all. But I do think that the reinvestment in the property is well suited for the location, and it is an R3 lot. So I think I'll leave it at that. I've spoken enough tonight.
Aaron, thank you very much. Sheila, Joe, thank you very much for your feedback. I know you've lived there for a long time, both of you, and you've taken very good care of your property. I'm just going to. What's that, Joe?
Thank you for being able to have a chance. Yeah.
So we're just going to open it up to any of the planning board members, council members. You can use your hand as a way to indicate if you want to speak. There's a hand option to put up your hand. I'm going through 2 screens here. So you have the developer, I shouldn't say the development director, Kelly, and Aaron Stavert, who is the planner. Okay. Councillor McLeod, Councillor Tweel, did you want to ask a question to Aaron Stavert? I'll just mute. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you for your presentation, Aaron. Anytime you're talking about a redevelopment in any neighborhood or community, there's neighbors are going to respond, especially if the development is quite different than what they've experienced over the last 40 to 50 years. I think Lynn Murray's pointed that out in the official plan. Doris talked about some of the changes to the neighborhood. Leslie, and of course, Joan and Sheila. I can tell everyone that it would have been a year and a half ago or 2 years, I held a community meeting at, it was Parkdale Elementary School, the Emergency Center, regarding traffic in Palmer's Lane. And one of the reasons why you're seeing a tremendous police presence is to prevent and to try to curtail that speeding traffic on Palmer's Lane, because it is used as a shortcut. There's an elementary school there. We have young children commuting up and down the street. There's buses. Yes, they're going through the stop signs, but I am pleased that the residents are seeing the police presence. So I think the lobbying has worked. Will it solve all the problems? No, but I'm very pleased that we're seeing consistency when it comes to the police presence. Aaron, when you look at the development, Leslie talked about maybe the removal of the house to create more green space. Is that a possibility? That's my first question. My second question with respect to traffic, any thought getting to a traffic study? And given everything that you heard here tonight, what do you do in terms of going back and meeting with the developer to see what can be revised that would give the residents maybe another opportunity to look at another option or some amendments to this redevelopment proposal? Thank you, Aaron.
Aaron, again, as for the property 1B Palmer's Lane, that's it's not your property, it's Parker's property. Parker, can you provide any feedback? Are you able to?
He's providing me feedback via text.
Okay, good. So, Aaron, can he hear the questions?
Yes, he can hear the questions.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it with you, Aaron. Just go right ahead, please. Thank you.
I think to address property 1B, I do know this much about the history of the property. Parker Developments did purchase that property recently, so I think the dollars and cents of it probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to tear down a house that's in pretty good condition to allocate it to green space. It also doesn't help with the housing situation. We've got a park across the street. We've got playgrounds at the elementary school for weekend. I'm sure residents are allowed to use. I mean, there's quite a lot of, I'll call it, open space in the adjoining neighborhood to utilize. I also want to just remind everybody that as of right, there's 9 units here. So we're asking for 3 more units. Maybe it's a deal breaker. Does the building change? No, the building doesn't change. So do they become 3-bedroom units? I suspect that's probably what will happen. I don't know that, we'll go back, we'll have a conversation, there's no doubt, to talk to Parker, to see if there's anything else we can do. I'm going to speak out of turn here. I'm looking at it going, well, let's put the building where the parking lot is, but then we're putting a parking lot on the corner of Mount Edward Road and Palmer's Lane, and I don't think that's good urban planning, to put the parking lot out in front. It's well screened, it's got trees around it. We've kind of discussed in length where the garbage should go, so it's not out at the road and unsightly. We've discussed snow removal and dealing with those issues. So, look, we always learn things from this public process. We always go back and kind of scratch our heads and say, what could we do differently? So that's what we'll do, no doubt, tomorrow. Did that answer your questions, Councillor Tweel?
Aaron?
The other question I had, Aaron, is, and I know you mentioned traffic, not necessarily with people living on Palmer's Lane, but it is being used as a shortcut. Any thought with respect to a traffic study?
No, I guess we haven't. Usually that's a requirement of the city, of the developer in a larger development. You know, as of right, we're at 9, so we're here asking for 3 extra parking spaces. So no, we haven't, but it hasn't been a request of the city to do a traffic study. Those are not inexpensive things to do, as I'm sure you're aware.
Councilor McLeod, did you want to? Are you nodding your head? Did you?
I just on the policing thing. First of all, it's good to hear that the community policing module is working. I tip my hat off to the police department, and it's hard to be there 24/7. But I do know I have a close friend that was made his hat because she had did one of those rolling stops and and she was caught. So you know, the policing side of the things is working, and unfortunately, whether this development goes ahead or not, that issue still remains. And we're working diligently with police and council to you know, we're looking at some ticket changing here with offences and moving forward, and hopefully we can slow down this issue of speeding. I just thought I wanted to add that because it's a problem. I know we all think it's a problem in our own area, but I can guarantee you it's a problem in every part of the city at this present time. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, Your Worship.
Aaron, do you want to close with any comments? Like, do you plan to go back to Parker, the owner, and then off to meet with Alex and Laura Lee Palmer, and then it will come forward to the planning board?
Well, I mean, we'll certainly debrief after this public meeting, and I'll, you know, I guess decide at that point whether we revisit it, whether we withdraw it, or whether we wait for the planning board and then ultimately council to kind of make a decision on the application as it's currently submitted.
Okay. And Doris, Leslie, Lynn, Sheila, and Joanne, and Joe, the planning board meeting will be a public meeting, and that will be announced on our website, charlottetown.ca.
Hi, it's Doris Pool here. May I make a comment?
Sure.
I just wanted to clarify earlier, it was mentioned that Parker contacted me. Actually, I contacted Parker about another issue. That was a couple weeks ago, namely snow removal coming onto my property. And in that discussion, it led into the apartment. At that point, I didn't know that this was happening. I knew there was going to be a new building, but I didn't realize it was going to be the size that was proposed. So I just wanted to clarify that Parker, I believe he said he was going to come around and talk to us, but that never happened, I don't believe, to my knowledge. It's unfortunate that he isn't on the line tonight. I'm doing a phone in, so I'm not on the Zoom session, so that might have been an option. But I'm just wondering, you know, if you're going back to revisit this, like, and considering something that's more harmonious with our neighborhood, like, again, did the possibility of townhouses ever come up, and then that could possibly be incorporated with the existing blue house, which seems to be the issue here more than anything, the landlocked issue. Some townhouses that fit the current space in conjunction with the house that's already there, and then you wouldn't have to put a driveway in off Mckay Drive, and that's it. And maybe once maybe the goal here is to ultimately sell the blue house and not have there as a problem. But I'm just wondering if maybe if you're going back to rethink things to consider townhouses and something that fits better with the neighborhoods.
Okay.
And that's it. Thank you so much.
Doris, thank you. Alex, could you just explain, just give Cole's notes on as of right that Aaron referred to?
Well, every property in the city, Your Worship, is zoned, and the property is currently zoned R3, and there's a number of development rights that pertain to it. Mr. Stabbert has indicated, what they're allowed to do without any rezoning applications. He's rightly pointed out that the discussion this evening is about 3 additional units, and there's a lot of there's like a lot of zoning applications. There's pros and cons. There's some benefits to the community in regard to what they're proposing, but then there's some concerns, and staff will point those out as they go back through the planning board and council, and ultimately council will try to balance what's in the public interest for those residents based upon what's been proposed by the developer, and whether the additional 3 units is amenable to the community or can be achieved in a manner that doesn't create issues, or or whether that they still have concerns and they would prefer not to allow the additional density. But just to be clear, though, there will be 9 units there. I suspect. I mean, Mr. Stabbert can confirm that, but it's not as though there won't be anything happen on the property. Instead of a 12 unit building, it can be a 9 unit. So that's, Your Worship, sort of the Coles notes in regard to the existing zoning and the additional density they're looking for from this, rezoning and lot consolidation. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. And Alan just said that, Joe, did you want to say one last comment? Or was that just waving to say goodbye?
No, I think we're good here.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to, look, great discussion. Thank you for the participation, Doris, Leslie, Lynn, Sheila, and Joanne. I have item number 5, introduction of new business. Is there any introduction of new business? Nope. So I need a motion to adjourn the public session. Moved by Councillor Ramsey. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Tweel. If you could just raise your hand using the icon, that would be fine. And I'm very, very much appreciative. Thank you very much. Have a great evening. Stay safe.